Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Purpose People podcast. I've got a great guest on now, Richard Andrews. He's an architect. He's lived an amazing life. He's just celebrated 10 years in business with his current venture. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So obviously we've invited you on the Purpose podcast because you've been on the journey to get where you want to get to, and obviously 10 years in being an architect. Can you tell us what got you to the place of starting the business in the first place?
I was working in Cardiff for quite a few different big firms. Plus, we were knee deep in between that big, long, deep recession from 2007 to 2012.
Yeah,
I'd been made redundant for the second time over the 3 or 4 year, between redundancies, and I was scratching. What do? I almost turned to teaching. Did something totally different. I was looking at maybe doing a bit traveling. Maybe I was trying to come up with ideas, but I can remember I took some redundancy back in the sort of June of 2012, and for that period of between 2012 to December 2012, which is when I started my company. I was literally going down to the job centre, signing on the door each week. And trying to tap into what I wanted to, how I really wanted to approach things.
Yeah,
and it wasn't in Wales. We have a centre for business. I can remember one of the girls in the sign on. They do the interview. Say, how you get on for finding a job? Not really good. We're knee deep in this 5 year deep recession. And she said, "Oh, well, have you thought about going to see a business mentor?" A business mentor? I was like, what, to do what? To run your own company? And suddenly that seed was planted. And I talked to my father, talked to some wiser people around me, and they said, "Yeah, look, you're your own man. You've done a fair few years in practice now. You've actually worked for different sectors within the company. So go and see." So I went to go see this guy called Brian Ahern, from Business and Focus in Cardiff Bay.
Yeah.
And magician by night and weekend, a business mentor by day. So he was like, right, okay. So
and you could find him, or he was disappearing.
He was always disappearing. Yeah. He disappeared after an hour. Anyway, I was my money's worth, I think. So anyway, we just literally got on really well, and he said to me, I said, don't you need some money to start your own business? No, and he said, you can get a grant from us from the React funding. You've got 1,500 from your redundancy. It's just you've got $3,000. I said, well, yeah, I know, but what? So yeah, he just broke it down. He said, look, a website's going to cost about 500. Your business card's 500. It was the magic 500 number that kept coming up. You know, and then he said, you need some banners and whatnot. And that was it. I started. You call the shots with the friends. Then you sort of say, right, who can design a website for as economical as possible? Who can get some business cards? And you tap into that. You go in for what I was about 39, 38 at the time. Yeah. So you tap into that. You've lived your life a bit. Who can I? It all comes in and all came together. And then 2012, I launched. I had the website, the email address. And whatnot, and then literally started December the 5th in a bedroom in the house, wow. Drawing. And at my first month, I made about 8K. I thought, wow, this is phenomenal. This is the way forward, brilliant. And then in a total baptism of fire, January, February, March, April, absolutely zilch came in. There was a couple of inquiries, and then I discovered the world of networking. Which was in the form of Intrabiz, BNI, Zocket, 4N. There was loads of different. I didn't even know they were there, and there was other sort of biscotti as well, biscuit and a cup of tea, biscotti. Okay, exactly. This was down in the Vale Hotel, and you had to go. Well, I think I wouldn't have been able to kick on if I hadn't gone to those. Networking. I must have gone to every BNI in South Wales. Genuinely couldn't find a BNI I felt comfortable in because they're quite evasive. You go into one, and it is very, very sort of, it's really, you've got to stand up for 45 minutes, say it's an elevator pitch, an alarm goes off you go, and you're like, so it's quite a bit. I just didn't. you know, so a lot that I went to were full of one-man bands, where they were just starting off or whether they were.
Yeah.
So I didn't really, but over time, you know, I didn't really pick one in the end. I ended up going with a few other networking groups and kicked off. And I got a few extensions. I got a new build house, and then starting to run. And then literally in Newport got an office. With A to Z Computing, they had a sort of subsidiary office. I jumped in there only after about 7 or 8 months, because I thought I need to get out of the house now. I was starting, the desk was filling up, and the bedroom was getting on top of me. And then I took on, as the jobs goes well, I took on 3 people. That didn't work out, as it often not. You find your feet. And then I took on my greatest acquisition in Lewis Shaw, then you know, who's now associate, and he was absolutely, you know, he was brilliant, because you know, I was able to. We were using an outside technician, so I was relieved of doing the technical, and Lewis was doing the design and technical. But I had to teach him a lot as well in the space of a short space of time, 6 months to a year. And you know, so we were all working in on that. That allowed me to kick on and get more work in, and then more work, and eventually more work. And it was. Yeah,
so would you? So I mean, the main thing for me is that you kind of almost felt. Did you always, when you were a kid, did you ever think about running your own business or having your own business, and then situations or circumstances allowed you to start, or was it just not on the radar? And
yeah, I think I always envisaged that was the dream.
Yeah,
and you know, when you say dreams, like, oh, you know, there's lots of dreams to people and what their focus is. But you know, I think looking back. You know, I wanted to do. You know, I worked for Atkins Global, who were an international company. Worked out in Dubai for 6-7 months. You know, I worked out in London. I went to university in Leeds. So I was starting to get, you know, not very well travelled. You know, went to Rome on architectural field trips. You know, so I definitely felt, you know, the sort of the passion for architecture. You know, it was constantly there. You know, and even in that knee-deep recession, I was always thinking, right, how can I better myself? And almost, I think your subconscious always, you feel like as soon as a teaching, well, you want to do teaching? No, you're not. You come back here. You know, and it was things drawing me back. It's quite interesting. You know, but I always knew architecture was in me, and I always knew that running my own company was probably the best way to go.
So how long did you have to? Because architecture is quite a long process, isn't it, to get your license to study? Is it? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it like a 7-year thing, or is it? Yeah, 7 years is 7 years. So the first degree is 3 years. Then you expect to go out and practice. Never really happens sometimes. Then you go back to your masters, your diploma for 2 years, and then you should do a year out. Then and you do your professional studies then within practice. So it all amounts up to about 7 years. Wow.
Yeah, it is, and you know, something perhaps needs to change in the future. Maybe down to 5 years, they can sandwich it a bit more.
Yeah,
you know,
but you got to know that you want to do it, right? If you're going to do it, because it's quite a long process to even get to where you need to get to, is doing it as a
you've got to
job.
you've got to know exactly. You know, you've got to get that creative arm. You know, there's got to be something creative in you. And you've obviously got to want to, you know, be interested in buildings and how they put together, because architecture is not just about drawing pretty drawings and colouring. You know, you've got to get in the shoes of a structural engineer. You've got to get in the shoes of a quantity surveyor who's pricing, you know, the elements of the build. How much is that beam? How much is the window? Yeah. You've got to also get in the shoes of a contractor, a builder. Now, builders know their stuff. You know, they learn on the job, and that's what architects got to do, is learn on the job as well. Yeah. So once you get past that 7 years, you've got to be aware that there's structural engineering to know about. There's even modules in university on psychology of the clients. So you've got to, you know, depth of perception. What are they looking for? Are they looking for light? Are they looking for aeration? Are they looking for an aerated space? Mm-hmm. Are they looking for fresh air? And sometimes, more often, it's always all those things and more. But you as the architect have got to feed that idea to them, because some people haven't got a clue what they want. They just want something as
different. Yeah, definitely. So obviously you've been doing this for a while now, and you've just celebrated your 10 years. What did that? You know, now you've hit the 10-year milestone. What did it make you do? You know, when you hit that number, what did it make you do as an architect? Did you spend a lot of time looking back and going, "Oh wow," you know?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I didn't really. I wasn't looking back at all. That was probably one of the issues, because as a business owner and as an architect, blended together, you're constantly sort of looking forward, because you're constantly watching the pennies a bit. You're constantly looking at practice. Have you got the right personalities in? and you want to sort of kick on. You know, you want to get that bigger project in, and the more amazing stuff as well. Although some of the smaller stuff is good as well. But you know, when we had the 10-year anniversary, looking at the projects, 2 or 3 projects per year we'd done over the 10-year period, it was like, wow. You know, in my first 3 years, for example, we had a building called the Earth Centre. It never got built, but the experience, it was a sedum grass roof on that. There was a huge retaining structural wall at the back, with a secret passage on the back that the owner could use on a day that was a big event going on. He didn't have to go through and be seen. You know, there was a massive space that it was south facing. The sun was coming in, the shadow coming in depicted a piano on the back wall. It was absolutely phenomenal. To have that in your first 2 years, you know.
And what do you do with that? Do you keep that in the file for bomb villains if they come across?
Yeah,
I need a layered building.
Yeah, you keep. Yeah,
let me go to. You got like loads already.
Yeah, well, now it has been built. Yeah, I could actually use that design anywhere else. Yeah, so if yeah. But yeah, it sort of it's a shame. I mean, it still might be built. You know, I mean, I'm still. In fact, Peter Dale's one of my close friends these days.
Right.
You know, who had the notion for that building. You know, you know, it's how the idea is conceived sometimes as well. You know.
But looking back, so you've done some amazing projects and stuff like that. What's the favourite project that you've ever worked on and seen it built? Or have you got a particular favourite?
Yeah, well, we sort of did select security offices. I got with Intraviz, you know, with you know, Tracy and Paul introduced me to Leon Windows, who was doing the this big sort of timber building. He wanted this big timber building to work out of. So we saw that built all out of timber. You know, construction was quite interesting because it was quite like a loft space as well, but it was quite open.
Yeah,
all the balconies off it. That was quite a good one to do. We've done loads. I think this year we've got a couple of houses being built. There's 2 big glass gables we've just done now, coming off the house which overlooks Rest Bay, which is down in Porthcawl, off the coast. And you can see the sea from it. Massive glass gables on each end. That's an amazing design. I just watched that being built now over the last year or so. And yeah, there's loads of extensions, you know, tons that we've done, you know, where it was overlooking the Bristol Channel, all stonework, balcony, you know. I think we took the picture that day, and you can see the reflection of Bristol Channel in the background. It's just amazing some of the buildings we've done. But we're really now coming into this phase of like, right, there's a lot of design work done now, and we're in planning, and there's some real special buildings we've got now. You know, like ICTS, right next to the M4. You know, Pencoed, just did the application for that now, and it's going through the motions of that.
Yeah,
we've got hotel in Blaen Avon, a huge project. I can't say too much. We've just done a pre-app, but I think it was on social media, so you know we can name it. You know,
yeah,
but. You know, it's a 50-person hotel right up opposite, above the big pit, which is one of the World Heritage sites. It's one of the most visited.
I think I've been there. I think they were they converted all the old outhouses into flats and stuff, and houses and stuff. But there's nothing else around there. It was just like this great big black wheel cog thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and then you got a couple of the workhouses that have been converted into flats, and then nothing.
Yeah. There's a few. I think they've got a few gimmicks, and you know where the ironworks or the molten came down. They've got some depiction of that, you know, running in, and it's all lit up. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the. I think it's the second largest in the UK for mines. It's sporadic. It's huge, and you can visit it and walk around it, and it's great. But there's nothing around that area to keep you there.
Yeah.
Apart from, in terms of a staycation, should we say, you know. So there's a Brecon Beacons, there's Abergavenny, which boasts one of the best festivals, the food festivals in the certainly in Wales.
Yeah.
But you know, to have people stay there, there's a lot of heritage up there. You know, things. There's a lot of attractions in the area. So to have this hotel is really niche. You know.
Well, that's what I made. So I spent many years living in the city, and I mean, and you almost have this perception that everywhere you live is as built up as that, even though you're not in there. And yet when you leave the cities, you just realise how much space there is and around, particularly in Wales, there's loads of space. You know, you can drive a few miles outside Newport, Cardiff or Swansea, and that's it. It's just countryside everywhere.
Fields after fields,
So do you spend a lot of your stuff doing commercial stuff or more domestic stuff, or do you do both in terms of the architecture?
Both really. I mean, predominantly residential. I mean, my first, my well, even now we're doing tons of extensions. We started doing lots of extensions and a couple of new build houses. We continued that all the way through. I'm not going to lose that because that's bread and butter. And it's also improving someone's quality of life is very, very important to me as a person, and to I try to instill that into the team. And certainly Lewis has got that, and certainly most of the other staff have got it. But it's to regurgitate that, it's very I've got about 70% residential at the moment, and then probably 30% commercial. So we've got this office we're designing.
Yeah. So do you find that I love that statement. You want to improve people's quality of life. Is that what drives you? Is that the purpose behind what you do? Is that you really want to make a difference using architecture, and that a good space can actually make a happy home in a way? Yeah,
completely. Completely. I mean, watching, when watching someone, people don't realize you can knock the whole back of your house out, if you want to. People don't understand when you like, what do you mean? Like, it's going to fall down. But, you put a beam, steel RSJ, people don't get that vision sometimes. But to see that eventually knock through, and then to see how it looks, how that light comes into the building, how the space is totally changed, doubles the space or something. Yeah, the looks on people's faces, wow. But you're right. It's everything else as well. It's accessibility, how you like the space. What is the budget? Budget constraints are huge. But it's what you can do within the budget. If you could open someone's eyes up to, like for example, Veluxes. The electric Veluxes are now coming in where you don't have to use the rods. You can press this remote control button. There's rain screen sensors on it, so if it's raining, heavy driving rain, it'll shut it on its own.
Okay.
And they're not too much more than a normal. So it's
this technology's always
it's all massively changing. Underfloor heating, ground source air heat pumps. It's constantly.
What about the whole sustainability thing? Because obviously that's. Do you find that more restrictive, or does that allow you to be more creative? Where people know energy efficient. Solar panels, all that sort of stuff.
I mean, effectively speaking, I think it's probably better. I don't know why, but it seems to be the best kept secret at the moment. Probably because of the energy crisis. But solar panels, if not, they can now power a whole house. So this is like the next thing's going to be coming out. I've got several reliable sources that say that they're telling me the solar panels now will power a whole house. So you imagine that. And
it changes everything.
Yeah, changes, big deal. Yeah, it's a massive change, big deal breaker.
But even the solar panels themselves are changing, right?
Yeah, they're getting more sleeker. You can get tiles.
That's it.
You can get. They're obviously expensive. Like you buy. When the iPad first comes out, or whatever, it's expensive. But the technology is there now. It's just it's really amazing what you can. And this energy crisis is interesting. Where I'm almost thinking actually it's nothing to do with anything else. It's actually to do with the solar. This now the ideology of solar panels will now power a whole house, and that's just the biggest thing.
And do you find that because there's this push I think, or I've heard about clean energy and good energy, where the house itself is generating the power and then giving it back to the grid, rather than the grid pulling the power off the grid all the time. And I think that's. Certainly with the energy circles and people that I've been talking to, is that the idea is that to create the home as the hub for the energy creation. So it would be battery potentially,
definitely,
or the solar panels, and then there's enough to power the house, but there's surplus, and then that then gets shared with other people. So the house is essentially the energy hub rather than drawing it down. I think that's the big shift I've seen.
Yeah, totally. If you look at how the household works generally, from especially in the summer months, from 5 o'clock to about 7 o'clock, you got 2 hours there of pure unadulterated energy going on the grid, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because no one's usually up that time. You've got one light on or two lights on, whatever it is, the hallway. You got phones charging. So there is that sort of an offset, but there's definitely battery storage. I don't know enough about the technology in the night times. Whether it's still it still can, there still can be an element of, going back on the grid. I don't know, but when the lights, the lights draw out, you can imagine all that, energy go back on the grid.
How long, and let's say, if you, because obviously the summer you got the sun, and then the winter is the shorter hours. How long can you store energy for? How long does it last? If you generate, does it get used the following day, or can you keep building it up over a period of time? Or?
Not sure really on that. I mean, it's not something we would specify, and
right.
not we've got a fair idea, but I'd be going out my leave.
Going out because there's a lot of I remember like the whole electric car thing, and a lot of the. In fact, I saw somebody's post the other day. They got an electric car that had so many miles range. They've had it for 3 years, and the range has dropped off significantly in that time.
Yeah.
And it's quite a well-known brand. I'm not going to dog them in now. But they said, we're not going to renew. We're going to go back to hybrid because the technology isn't there.
Yeah. Well, I'm using an electric car now, and I'm thinking exactly the same thing. So two people can't be wrong sometimes, isn't it? We've got I've just got an all-electric car. The range is 250. Well, I was told the range would be 300 plus. Got the car. Oh no, it's going to be 280. Right, it's only charging to 215 though. Oh yeah, but in the winter months, it's right. What? that's not what I signed up for.
Don't put the heated seat on because then that drops by another 50.
Yeah.
Do you know? That's what I'm hearing. These horror stories where by the time they stick all the electrics on, like they would in a normal car, let's say, the range is not very far or very good.
Same with same with. It's great for charge when you charge at home. It's great because you know where you are. You change charger works. When you go off elsewhere, you pull into a service station. It's full. There's 2 cars on there. You're like, all right. Then you go to somewhere quite, and the charger's not working or something wrong with it. There's a technicality. You've got to fill in your details and give your bank details to the car charging outfit. It's a mission. It's really, So I think the technology it's getting there,
but it's a lot further behind than what we thought.
Definitely. I definitely concur with that.
So what in terms of obviously making people's lives better, that's the sort of like the purpose behind what you do. What's probably the biggest leap forward in builds that you've seen over the last maybe 10, 15 years that you can think, that's had a really significant impact?
Well, probably sort of just what sort of power is coming right into it, now massively into it. And as you can see, there's farmers' fields now banking solar up. So, it's huge, But yeah.
What about build, because obviously you grow up and you used to, the old brick houses and stuff like that, but there's a lot of houses being built with different materials now. In America, they've been doing it for years with wooden houses and stuff like that.
There's so many different forms of construction now. You can get a whole timber frame. Not block on timber or timber on block. You've got SIP panels. You've got so many different ways of building a house these days. But yeah, I think if you look at timber on timber, the frame goes up within a week.
Wow.
And it's, but it's built out of timber, totally built out of timber. And people I for one, being a designer and a specifier, I'm still a little bit uncomfortable with that idea, because you're like, I'd rather block a bit of block with it. But then, we did a housing estate up in the valleys, and it was all steel frame, and so those technologies are still they're there now, but they're still being like the electric car. They're still being tested.
Yeah. And
still, is that okay? Is it, is it sturdy enough? Is it got a bit of, in the wind? Has it got a bit of give in it? And it's that old stigma. We seem to be getting more thermal with our wall. When we first started off back in, way back in the 1800s, we did all stone walls, and whatnot, and 600 mil thick.
Yeah.
And I think we went down in the 70s, 80s, we developed a 250 thick wall, which is brilliant. It's just almost like third of the and now we seem to be going up. And then went to about 300 mil because we had to get a big cavity with a bit of insulation in it. Yeah. Then now the regs have just changed, particularly in Wales. They've just changed again now, and it's like 350 mil, 375 mil for a wall. It's like, right, hang on a minute. So we're going back to that. Why we're not streamlining? So, but that's where your other technologies are coming in. Like, so it's these choices that
because it's like the whole new builds. Building new houses, they get thrown up. They're paper thin. Punch your fist through a wall, and it's like. Yeah. And you can hear you can hear your next door neighbour going to the loo, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's a problem. It's a real. I mean, impact sound and the acoustics of the house has got to be, that's got to be specified by us as architects. We've got to get that right. And if it's not right, then the builder's built it incorrectly. So you shouldn't be really hearing that. But you do get situations in flats and in even new builds sometimes where something's not. It's either the buildability of it because there's usually sound huge sort of acoustics now which go into the place which you shouldn't hear any of that, like when we detail something up we have to put all that in, and
yeah.
That's the other thing about architecture. It's not just the pretty, as I said, it's not the pretty drawings. We've got to make sure what we designed,
the practicality,
it's put together sustainably, and it's put together in a real sturdy way as well,
because the new house trends as I've seen is that the houses seem to be getting smaller and taller. So they're getting thinner and taller. Obviously, a bit like the days of the Tudors, everyone's trying to get as many houses on a piece of land as possible. Yeah. And yet, when you go to, like, let's say you go further remote to Wales, there are developments. It's like, just take as much space as you want,
We're working on Rest Bay Close now, which was done back in the 60s, and they're all staggered. So everyone's got a sea view. So the houses on the other side of the street, can see through the gap that's been left.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and you just won't get that now. And what's happening is that in concentrated places, that the townhouses almost come back into fashion. Split level houses.
Yep.
So you definitely you're definitely seeing a more of a trend of going up, and of course there's a better view in the roof space as well. So if you're getting a bit taller, there's a chance you get a better view if you're working with a roof, or put the master suite up in the roof, for example.
Yeah. Is there a trend? Is there a trend you particularly dislike in houses, or because some people I hate modern houses, full stop. They prefer barn conversions, or is there a love and a hate with you that do you love doing barn conversions? Do you hate doing new builds? What would you?
Yeah, no, I think it's a challenge.
The challenge is the key.
Yeah, the challenge is the key because everyone's got a different budget as well. I like what I would design is like an open studio environment. Where you've always got the snug or a room for someone else to it might be a friend of yours comes around. Well, I'm going to go in the front room with him, watch some football, and then the hearth of the house, which is the kitchen. That's the other trend now. Is the hearth of the house used to be the lounge. It's now the kitchen. The kitchen is the social hub. Yeah, I'm going to put my cooker here in the middle on an island, and I would cook to my guests. And that's exactly what we've been doing in the last 8 years, constantly doing that. Yeah. Sink on the middle island sometimes, and so you're always outward. Back in the day, it used to be a back to you're frying something up and you skipped a beat of a conversation. I missed that. What was that? Everyone's laughing. You're going, I'm trying to cook this quickly as possible, and it's just that thing, And
so social trends change. Hey?
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
and that's an interesting one because I've seen a lot of that where the kitchen is now. The kitchen is the hub. Everyone hangs out. We used to, growing up, it's like the hub of the party was always in the kitchen because it was near the fridge. But it just seems like generally life revolves around the kitchen now, not so much the lounge.
Yeah, no, totally. I was around my mum and dad's house the other day, which is that house was probably done in the 70s, and we're all around the TV. There's a big horseshoe shape around the TV because the kitchen's like titchy. It's absolutely titchy, and there's just not the wall through. They could connect to a little bit of a dining space, but it's just. There's just a trend, it depends what you're doing.
The other one was the little hatch.
Yeah, the surfing hatch.
The little hatch. There's like my wife's parents. It's just like they got the little hatch and all. And they feel like they're missing out on the conversation.
And that turned into the sliding doors. Then they'll slide the pocket doors, which pocket doors are actually starting to come back now because they're realizing the pocket doors don't have any swing, which sometimes impedes people. So if you just retract the doors back, that's great. We've got these two spaces then. Yeah. But it's the trends and the time and the budget. Getting light into a building is huge. You've got the big glass gable here. Yeah, I'm looking at that. It's just huge light. You immediately want to look up in it because it's beautiful. Yeah, it's really lovely. And it's giving this some light back in. And you try and convince someone of that, you've got to go and take them to see it because they can't quite understand. What do you mean? What do you mean?
It's a weird thing because obviously when we moved in here, it was only like we were sat here and then we realised. Because you walk up the top and you can see the glass, but it was only when we sat here one day and we look at them, we can see the planes going. Oh, isn't that great? More interested in watching what was on the television.
It's amazing, and if you, but and is the massive cliche here is like I can see through the door there, though. I can see the sky through there. It's great, and it's light coming in. But I can see through the door, and I immediately I can't see any of the field. But if that was total glass there, can you imagine I know there's a road beyond that, but you can imagine the view up on that field. Yeah. And it's like a moving picture. You know, back at my house, we view onto a field as well. There's always livestock in there. There's birds of prey, and I know that because I'm looking at it constantly.
Yeah.
If I was just a guest, I go, yeah, it's not a bad view. It's
well,
field,
we've heard that they actually are taking that wall down. That wall's going at some point, and they're going to do something a little bit different with it. Yeah. But I think that's the thing. I was sat there with a cup of tea one day, and I just sat there quiet. No one was in, and I looked up. I was just watching the plane, just going over it. I was like, well, how relaxing is that? You know,
it's hugely right. And you know, people when you describe this glass gable to people, they go, well, what's supporting the roof? And you know, as you can see there, you can see exactly what's supporting the roof. The purlins are going across. Yeah, it's just different ways of doing it, and that's my job. It's the design challenge of what people explain to me. If someone says to me, well, we want some light coming in. We've got two daughters. One's got a small room. We want another bigger bedroom for our daughter. You just respond to what people, and it's amazing what you can draw out of someone and the way they talk about themselves after you've made them feel comfortable. And you know, and I think there's a bit of it. You know, traditionally speaking, there's a bit of a stigma attached to architects sometimes. You know, a bit snooty, and you know, it's my way, and I'll design it. You know, But that's that, and that was one of the reasons why I started the practice in a way. I worked for a number of firms in Cardiff that I felt the directors of those firms were not tuning in to the staff or the clients coming in. This is what I want, and I was constantly working on things, going back and forth, changing quite a bit. Because I wasn't getting the brief right in the first, but
it goes back to what you said, is that helping people's quality of life, and how you do that is get to know the people and what they're actually looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, what are they? Why do they want an extension?
It's like a designer. You know, like certainly in my early days, it'd be like I would design something, and then I'm designing it for me, not for the client. And then the client would go, "Oh, I don't like that. Can you?"
Yeah.
And you would get upset.
Yeah.
Why are you changing my masterpiece? You know, but the reality is, it's theirs.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah,
it's got to reflect their company and whatever. And you might be pushing it in a direction left or right or whatever, but ultimately, it's understanding what the audience wants, not necessarily what you want.
Yeah, it's their livelihoods. They're living in it. That's that. And that's what I say about psychology. There's a modular university that gears you into that. Well, I don't know. I was my particular university because there's people I speak to nowadays. What do you want about psychology of clients? And you think, oh, right, you haven't got it. You know, if you're not haven't got it now. You need to be shown it, and that's what we do with the staff that come in with me. We always, you know, go on about that, you know, and always say, you know, context as well as everything. You know, for example, when they did that, why don't they just do the whole glass gable there?
Yeah,
because, you know, you miss it. I'm not seeing it. You know, might probably a distraction, but but you know, there's a whole field of life there. You know, which is, I can't see. I can see a little snippet of it through that door, but so it's amazing. You know, the things you sort of don't. You know, you wouldn't think of.
Yeah.
And it's our job as architects to do that. I mean, a massive thing about architecture as well is you've got to try and handle a builder, because a builder or contractor, you know, it's and I think what everyone forgets.
Do you think builders are frustrated architects?
Well, no, I think
they just frustrate architects.
Yeah, no, yeah, something like that. Yeah. No, I think there is a stigma, but it wasn't the quality of life.
Yeah,
you're trying to purvey in someone's house. What I was driving at there which is hugely important, which is good to put across, is that you know, you need to sort of be a team. You can't, you know, right, and there's that stigma attached. Architects and builders, I'm going to get him. I'm going to tell him what to do. I'm going to tell him he's got to do it like that, and it shouldn't be like that. Look, we've taken it from the clients. They told us what they want. We've interpreted that. They love it. They've approved it. We've got to build them on site now, and the builder and the contractor, whoever's coming in, needs to think like that. They need to be thinking the same. Right? Okay, I'm on the same wavelength. Let's build this. It's their livelihood. Yeah. At one point, I'm going to knock through, and all dust is going to come through the whole building as well. So it's got to be it's got to be TLC, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of contractors sometimes seldom think like that, you know. I think they just want to get in, get out of the project, you know. And there can be some big profits for builders in this.
Have you? I mean, there's two things I'm going to ask you about. Have you seen those like images where builders get it badly wrong? You know, like they put the door on the wrong way. Have you ever been to a site where that's happened?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, I'm just trying to think of.
Maybe not a project that you were in charge of, but that you ever come across anything.
There was a site we had in Newport, and the client was putting a picture up, and fortunately it wasn't quite finished yet, and the nail went straight through, and he was like, I knew the picture wasn't staying on, so I was like, what's going on here? When you bang it, and then he took the nail out, and it felt a bit of a draft. So we took this bit of and obviously the building wasn't finished yet. We knew we hadn't signed it off, but he was just trying to get the kitchen looking okay, and pulled the nail out. And I could see. He said, "Rich, you better come around." So I went around there, and I could see through. It's daylight. So there's a hole in the where the external is under a little bit of a fascia, and you couldn't see. And we just got the builder straight on site and said, sort that out now. And he managed to patch it up. He had to take the fascia off, put a few more bricks and blocks there. It was absolutely bizarre.
Wow.
It's like they sort of covered it over. Didn't have enough bricks. Couldn't bother going to get some more bricks, and just went, we'll cover this over. So it was one of those things where you couldn't see it unless you did what it was quite astonishing. I wonder whether the client did it on purpose so he could spot it, or whether he felt there was some sort of anomaly there. But no, we never see anything. We never see anything. Yeah, like you just said. I mean,
like the door handles in the wrong place.
I've seen the one in Spain where there's a balcony built around a lamppost, and there's it's just like a lamppost with this balcony.
That's it. It's like, because like being in the design trade, that we went through this thing where a printer just wouldn't ask any questions. So if there was a glaring headline spelling mistake, they would just print it anyway. They couldn't care. And when I saw those memes, I was just like thinking, at what point do you ask the question? Where you see the cobbled pavement, and it's like, and then someone's like put the wrong brick in the wrong place, and all they had to do is this, but they just done it anyway. I was like, what about grand designs? Because that got a lot of people into sort of architecture. Has that been a positive thing or a negative thing?
Yeah, I'd love to replace Kevin McLeod, I tell you, because he just think, he always seems really sort of you analyze it, or you're gonna and I think it's one of those things, they always go over budget, don't they? And there's no
every time,
every single time, and it's like,
I don't know where to get the money from. So we started off for $500,000. So where are we now? We're on 1.2 million. Like, where did you find 700 grand?
Good old Tesco's loans there. But no, I don't know either. It is bizarre. But yeah, I mean, like, I think they could almost film another, not grand designs, just creative designs or something, where they could be a bit more realistic with the budget and the challenges sometimes that they don't show the complexities with the builder. Why is it over budget? Let's analyze it, because that's the learning point, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sometimes they say, they were over budget, the windows weren't, But it never really honed down on what's going on.
Well, I saw a video. I think it was on TikTok of all places, and I was talking to a couple that were building the grand design, and they were approached, and the grand design TV crew or whatever said there wasn't enough problems to make the TV show interesting. And it was the husband project managed it, and they literally had no problems and got it done. I thought, well, that would be quite a good show just to see that you actually can do it. But they said, no, we didn't want to cover it because it just wasn't enough struggle. Which just seems really sad. Yeah. But yeah, I watched one. I don't watch it so much now, but I watched one a while ago, and they were like 700 grand over. And I'm like, you might build the thing, but then how are you going to live? And I think there's been some instances where they've had to sell up afterwards because it's just cost them too much money.
It's not a good example either to the would-be, clients who want to do an extension or do want to do a build or whatever.
So do you think it's helped or hindered the industry?
Probably hindered it, because you wouldn't sort of realistically speaking, you might go over budget, but it might be 2K or something, and that's the realism, And interestingly, I don't know. I know Kevin McLeod is the narrator almost in the overview, but. It'd be great to expose more the architect, builder, and the client relationship, because I think that that and in a good way, because it can work really well. Like we've had hairy moments where we misspecified something, or something's or something's gone wrong on site, but we've always been there to pick up the pieces and say, right, how do we overcome it? And that's what I'm saying. Being proactive is the biggest way you can.
And it's just working together as teams. I think that's what you've seen that's over the last 10 years. Would that be the key thing, that you've really worked well with builders, architects, all working together?
We work really well with some builders, and we haven't. Some builders are horrendous. Bully. I've seen all bullying tactics, and it's horrendous. I'm there going, right. This is someone's quality of life.
Yeah.
Again, and this is someone's livelihood. You know, why am I being like this with the bill? It's unbelievable. I'm like trying. I'm actually, and the client's going, yeah, Rich, we know you're doing all you can for us, and that's the main thing, I suppose. But the cliche is, right? Well, can't we? We're meant to be a team. This is and it's livelihood. You know, it's they're.
So in the instance of like when they do a build, so someone comes to you and you're an architect and you obviously build the project out or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you do the QS or they bring a QS? Are you managing the whole project and dealing with the builders, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we're Royal Institute of British Architects trained, so we manage the whole process.
Right, got you.
So the whole process has to be, and we should run our way through really, because we're taking all the stress and strain off the clients.
Yeah.
But they sometimes go, no, I'll deal with that. You know, you might say, well, you might have an extension done. I'll deal with that. I'll deal with the builder. Oh, good luck. You know, there's deliveries coming on site. He's coming in with his team.
Yeah.
They've eaten lunch. There's a portaloo. It is every single facet of like, oh, this is stressful, you know. And,
Yeah.
You know, we do the whole thing. Yeah, we run it from planning, building regs through the project.
No, we saw it with some friends of ours. They literally converted. It was a terrace house in Bristol. They got a load of builders in to do a load of work.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the architect come into it, but I think it was just like, can you do it? And the builder's like, yeah, all right, I can. And then halfway through they're doing an upstairs room, right?
Yeah,
so they were converting like a loft thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck they had done, but there were cracks appearing in the kitchen downstairs.
All right.
And then the builder walked away from it, and then they had to get another builder in. And this went on for a good 3 or 4 years, and they're working their butts off now trying to pay all that money off. But again, if they'd gone to an architect first, it would have mitigated some of the problems, vetted some of the builders. And so, do you appoint the builders as well, or is that based?
Yeah, we would go out to tender with the builders. It's never a good thing because builders are doing this. They're doing the pricing on it, throwing back. They might take them a day for an extension. It says this size, you know, like a 6 meter by 6 meter extension. It takes them quite a while to get that price together. It might be the best part of a day.
Yeah.
By the time you've done a few ring around for their plumber and their electrician. But yeah, we would tender them in, you know, and sometimes we say, look, it's £2,000 per square meter is the going rate at the moment, you know, where we're the part of the world where I'm living, which is Bridgend Way in Wales, you know, and Cardiff, you know, £2,500, £3,000 per square meter. That's what it's.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
And there's times where if I think the client, you know, is listening to what I'm saying, you know, or there's a good kudos, I'll say, can we just get this build? We know this build is becoming free in 4 or 5 months. Can we just get this, you know, this builder and let him come in? Because we've worked with them before.
Yeah.
So we've got about 3 or 4 builders on the books now who are really good. You know, contractors who are really good. We know we just can go and do a good job. But sometimes it's always enticing for someone to go, let's get 3 prices. You know, it's great. It's not always the way forward because they might not be available for. Like, built certain contractors are not free to for a year.
Yeah, and obviously you need builders. You also need the builders who've got the contacts to get the materials. So there's a lot more to the narrative of actually building something yourself or doing a conversion. I think having a great architect on board to take you through that process is a really good thing, because I've learned a lot just in this conversation now. If ever I want to build a house, I'll be speaking to you, Rich, and then going, you know what, deal with a lot. That'd be where I'm coming from, because I don't have the time to deal with the stresses and strains. And having watched enough grand designs, it never seems to go well when they're project managing.
Yeah, you know, it's we don't come cheap either. You know, it could cost $3,000 for a whole process on an extension sometimes.
Yeah,
but you know, with extras that, you know, if you don't get the detailed set of drawings done and you go straight to a builder, the contractor, there's always extras and overs. There's always things that crop up. There's always dilemmas. Like you just said, a structural engineer, they've obviously had a problem there with the steel beam.
Yeah.
So an architect would engage direct with a structural engineer, and on our drawings, we will put the structural engineer's design and make sure we will get the structural engineer involved to design that steel. So it's not a problem. And it's not a problem later on. The builder just knows what to do. He carves it in, but it's so precarious. It's so, you know, it's so intricate. You know what dealing with the building and that whole process is huge.
Well, Rich, I think for me, you know, the overriding thing that's come out of this podcast is about helping people with quality of life, and I think if they can delegate a lot of the stresses and the strains and stuff of building, and it makes absolute sense to get an architect on board to be able to help them to do that. So, where would people be able to get in touch with you? You know, obviously we've talked about it, and someone goes, you know what, I really like what Richard is saying about, you know, building and stuff like that. What's the easiest way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, just look up Richard Andrews Architects, you know, on the web. Give us a call. We've got a really friendly team that are there, talk you through the project. It's not me, it comes out, Lewis will come out. Both of us take that first visit.
Yeah.
We more or less do an hour's free consultation within certain radiuses. Bristol is in that catchment, Cardiff's in that catchment, Swansea, and other areas, Gloucester. So, just get in touch with us, give the practice a phone. Look us up on the web, and you can see all the projects are on there and the process, and there's a video on there there's a video on that website of us, of how it works, how the process of what you go through.
No, great. Well, Rich, it's been an absolute pleasure talking about about how to get things built and how to do it the right way. I'm sure we'll get you back as well and talk about some other things within the architect world. We didn't even discuss sort of like your favorite period, whether it's the Roman period, the Tudors, or whatever. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of value. So
my pleasure. Cheers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into the Purpose People podcast. Just to remind you, you can like and subscribe to us on YouTube and on Apple, Spotify and Google podcast platforms. You can review us and you can follow us. That really helps us get our message out there that life is better lived on purpose. We trust that you're enjoying the Purpose People podcast, but if you'd like to find out more about putting purpose at the heart of your business, you can contact us today, book a discovery call, and we can discuss how we can help you live a life on purpose.